Anything else, Lauren? Should we go on?
No questions. People are just finding this very fascinating.
Okay, very good. Oops. Okay, there we go. I can see it. So there's the EMFs from electricity and the EMFs from wireless things. That word electromagnetic fields has the two words in it. Electro is the electric field part, and magnetic is the magnetic field part. Two different things. Again, here in North America, it's 60 hertz, 60 cycles a second. In Europe and a lot of parts of the world, it's 50 cycles per second. That frequency is in the frequency range called ELF. This is an engineer's scientist term. Extremely low frequency is what it means. You've heard of other things like VHF, very high frequency. There's all these different like kind of military, actually a lot of this was military to begin with, extremely low frequency. I like to think of it, instead of extremely low frequency, really it's earth living fields. These are fields of the earth, and these are fields of life. These are that Schumann resonance of 7.8 hertz, plus or minus a little bit depending on night or day. These are actually earth living fields. So that's how I remember ELF and think of it as it's really an alive thing of the planet. And what's interesting about these particular EMFs, they are literally planet-like fields, or literally the size at the wavelength. We won't get into the science of the terms, but wavelength from the crest of one wave to the crest of another. Like if you're at the beach and you see a wave coming and you measure the distance between them and say it's 20 feet out at the beach for the waves. For these waves that the Earth is emitting, they're the size of the planet, basically thousands of miles long. It's a planet-sized field. It's also why the military actually likes to sometimes use these kind of fields for military purposes for communication, because it's really hard to block them. And they can send signals like through the planet, the other side of the planet, because the fields are that. It's a physics thing. So the biggest sources, the magnetic fields from power lines. Another big source is the magnetic fields from building wiring, and also the grounding systems for buildings. They often have issues. Another source of the magnetic fields from the municipal water pipes in towns. There's often metal piping, copper or old steel piping. And there's often electricity running on those pipes. And they all are making these fields around us. There's also the other part, the electric fields, comes a lot from Romex wiring. That's that plastic coated wiring that you'll see. You won't see it in your walls, but it's usually in there, or even the old knob and tube type. And then there's the electric fields from like cords and devices, especially laptops, things that are plugged in, but you have your hands on sort of. You're a little bit kind of plugged in yourself when you have electrical cords close to you and devices that you have your hands on. So it's really, do we really need so much electricity? The codes here, at least in North America, they call for having, for instance, when you're planning electrical system for a house, the code says here in the United States, you must have an outlet within 6 feet of everywhere along the wall. So, you can't just have, let's have an outlet on that side of the room and let's have nothing over there. No, you have to have within 6 feet of any place you are around that wall, you have to have an outlet. That's the code. And then also the code is you have to have a light switch pretty much in every doorway. When you enter a room, the idea is you don't have to like cross to the doorway on the other side of the room to turn on the lights. They want you to have, the code wants you to have, be able to turn on lights everywhere. So there's reasons for that, to have outlets everywhere so that you don't have long cords for things plugged in, and you don't stumble and trip and hurt yourself in the dark. But it does mean that the codes call for a lot of electrical things that we don't really need. Another issue is that the wiring is always on. So one of the things we'll talk about is sometimes people just turn the breakers off. Also, most of the wiring that we have all over the world is generally unshielded, and there's a shielded version. And the other thing is this is assumed harmless. So when electricians put in wiring, I've seen houses where there's a panel, there's a master bedroom on the way to the kitchen, and 14 circuits are going right under that bed. And no electricians has thought, well, maybe that's not the best thing for somebody's sleep, right? It's assumed harmless, and you just put the wires everywhere. That's the common thing. So some of the solutions is to measure with meters, avoid power lines. We're gonna go through these in some detail. New construction, you can use shielded wiring. Existing construction, there's a way to shield the existing wiring. There's ways of reducing the fields with shutoff switches, turning off breakers. And I might say, one of the amazing things that kind of relates to the reducing EMFs kind of concern that also kind of goes nicely with people who are trying to be more ecological as far as conserving energy. You know, some of the communities are like doing their best to be off grid, use solar, not use a lot of electricity and burn fossil fuels. Is when you turn off things to reduce EMFs, it's amazing sometimes how much you can actually reduce the power usage. So my clients that are highly sensitive and turn a lot of things off will often report like the biggest surprise is that their electrical bills go down. There's a lot of phantom loads out there, you know, things that are plugged in and on and using a little bit of power and everything's on all the time. And then when you turn off the wiring, those loads go away and you actually save electricity. Another thing we'll talk about is the distance from the walls and how that helps. More distance helps reduce your exposure. But basically, I'm going to use the example of a local co-housing, which I really love, in that I worked on for a client for a variety of issues. So, I mean, it's so great. Well, basically, if you look over here, oh, did I lose it? There you are. Not all powers are high emissions, but if I was to live here, the first thing I would do is I get out one of my meters, I test for magnetic fields, and I go, wow. Unfortunately, this is a fairly high emission power line. You have to go way to the back of the community to kind of get out of its field. This is the problem, of course, with any urban community. You're going to tend to have this thing. If I was setting up a new community, I would avoid this. But I love this community, but it's like this particular thing. So one of the things is to measure before, if you can, before you move into your unit or before you start a community, is before you go, make sure there isn't an issue like that because then you're stuck with it. If you're doing new construction, you can use a shielded wiring. Here on the left, you can see this is Romex. This is a plastic cable. What I usually recommend, what we usually do is MC cable. It's an armored cable, different names for in different parts of the world. But basically it's this one here. It has a metal armor around it. This metal armor is grounded, like in the picture on the right here. You're using metal boxes, metal armor. This is actually required in certain situations, often in commercial buildings. So most electricians know how to do this. But in residences, usually you're doing this, this plastic wiring because it's a little cheaper. But this shielding stops the electric field from coming out, and it stops something called dirty electricity from coming out. We won't get into that today if you ever heard of that. Where this wiring over here lets it comes right out, even through the sheetrock. If you have existing construction, what we did, so my client, not in the unit in one of these pictures here, but off, I think to maybe this side over here, in the community, part of what we did was we did some shielded paint and we actually put aluminum window screen on the floor to shield from the wires of the unit below, because the people below didn't want to turn off their breakers. So we shielded the person above my client from the person below by putting basically aluminum screen and grounding it under the carpet for her unit. And just giving you the idea about shielding, this is a doctor's office who is very highly sensitive, but this is black shielded paint. This is carbon-based paint on the walls here. We actually put a shielding on the floor also. In that case, we again use cheap material, aluminum window screen. The paint is grounded. It's grounded. I'm not sure if it's grounded over there. And then this, you can't see the grounding of it, but the on the ground. And there's actually going to be, when it's done here, if you take a look at the after picture, you can't even tell that this was a shielded room, except on this window. We didn't replace the window and do a low E glass or shielded glass. There's actually a curtain. Maybe it's not on there yet. Probably not on there. There's a kind of see-through curtain that's a shielding fabric there. And on the doorway, he didn't want to have his door closed all the time. So we had a shielded fabric on the doorway, so people would feel like he still felt part of the community in this doctor's office. What we also did for this client, rather than try to shield all her wiring after the fact by painting with the shielded paint her whole apartment in the co-housing unit here, basically she turned off a couple of breakers, things that she didn't really need anyways. Often there's an excess of circuits and things, like you need the refrigerator on, maybe you need the bathroom light. Often so in this case, I think there's a hallway and a whole part of the living room. Didn't need that. Just kept that breaker off and kept things really low EMF. We tested to figure that out. Sometimes people do a kind of a shut-off switch. Different ways to do it, more electronic ones. Here's one. Here's something that I've done for many years that uses kind of like very simple technology. You press a button. It works a little relay that I've installed out near the panel, and then it turns off that circuit. So you don't have to go outside, trudge through the rain, in the cold, turn off the breaker. There's ways to do a more convenient shut-off switch. And a lot of times in new construction, we'll do that too, so that even though you have shielded wiring, sometimes hey, I just want to turn everything off in the room anyways. That's what I have in the half of the house where we sleep. I turn off a breaker. I'm sorry. I have shielded wiring, but I use actually just like this. I use a little switch like this, and I turn off the circuit for that part of the house, so that even with shielded wiring, I still feel it, I swear, even though I can't measure the field from the shielded wiring, shielding's never perfect, and I just like to sleep without it. There's these different kind of options. Another thing that comes up with communities, especially when you're living in an urban community, and you say, hey, I have a room, another person has a room, what gets interesting about it is the difference between the distance you have from the wall. So if you imagine on the left here, in this wall, there's going to be some electrical in there, maybe on this side running over here typically. You might be only a foot from the wires, right, that are in the walls you don't see. And then you have, what I find is you measure these more expansive buildings, and you don't have, unless you have EMF, unless you have wiring underneath the floor, you might have a little wiring behind here, but see how even this bed has sort of a big back part of the bed here, pulling you away from the wall a little bit. So one of the issues you have in communities sometimes is when there's tight spaces, you get closer to the wires. That was the problem with Laura, the activist in that earlier example, where she had a very small bedroom. You literally couldn't walk through the room. You literally walked in and then kind of had I guess you could kind of get your legs around it, but basically to get to the bathroom, I mean, you would actually kind of go across the bed. It was like the bed was like the size of the room, so the walls were really close. She also had the old knob and tube wiring, so there are a couple issues that made her feel unusually high, that high voltage on her skin. But so sometimes, so for instance, in this kind of home, I might not worry about shielding so much because you're farther away, but this kind of, I'd probably be shielding the walls and around here, because I'd want to just, if it was me or my child here, I really would be concerned about, I'd measure it first. I'd be concerned about the possible exposure. Then I'd measure it and see how bad it is. Can I turn on a breaker? I'm sorry, can I turn off a breaker? That kind of thing. What can I do to make that lower? So the more you're in a tight situation, the more you might want to be aware of there's a possible EMF issue in your building.